Honey, do you really know what's happening in your backyard?
Hello, my name is Vonetta Upshaw, and as you know, January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. There are various layers of human trafficking, but today I will be talking to you about the sex trafficking part.
Many of our young girls are unfortunately becoming victims of sex trafficking, and to me the reality is that, you know, all of a sudden, like in Connecticut now, we have this big spotlight on sex trafficking in our backyards. But to me, this has been going on in the backyard for years.
I myself am a surviving victim of sex trafficking, and it is an industry that is happening right here in our own backyard.
When we think about the young women that are unfortunately being trafficked, they are weak-minded. They usually are struggling with housing or relationships.
I battle with chronic homelessness due to being put out at the age of 16. And I had to have the streets. I had to be raised in the streets. I can remember how I had to lose my virginity just so that I can have somewhere to stay at the hotel, to make sure I had something to eat, clothes on my back. And I can remember the times when it was that time of the month when I couldn't do anything, that I would have to find abandoned buildings and sleep in there and still steal like little snacks or whatever have you from convenience stores. I got fed up with that, and that's when I moved to Florida.
The impact or effect of not having strong family dynamics is that we as females tend to try to figure it out on our own. When we don't have a path to go in or a role to base things on, we tend to rely on others to create that path for us, so we can therefore create what we might consider as our own identity.
I was in my beginner 20s when I first started waitressing at a nightclub. And I got befriended by a female, and every day I would see her, she's like, oh, you have a nice shape, you should be on stage, you can make a lot of money. And I just brushed it off, laughed it off. And then because of what I was dealing with as far as shelter-wise, living out of a hotel, I noticed that I needed more money. And so for that to play in my mind, I'm like, okay, I gotta make more than what I'm already making. And that's how everything happened, and it just spiraled out of control.
What we fail to do is we fail to do two things. We fail to, one, talk about why these girls are being in the situation. Where are the services and the supports to help with the young woman who is living in a house with a parent who is rejecting of her? Where's the education? Like, we should be having more parent education groups, more parent support groups, because that's where it stems, that's where it starts.
And I became an individual that did house parties. From there, basically, I was manipulated into going to New York, and when I got there, my whole world just turned upside down, and I ended up with a pimp.
Most of the people that are buying these young women are males and white males. Where's the education for them? this is the approach that we always take with every situation, is we approach it from the female being the problem, or the female being the person that has to be educated on how to know the signs and how to prevent it. But nobody's talking to these young boys about how you not victimize a young woman.
The main goal of the pimps, which are the males, and the madams, which are the females, is to befriend you and to also psychologically manipulate you into believing that you're important, you mean the world to them, and everything else.
Self-identity is a big thing whenever it comes to us just living in society, and a lot of us are still trying to figure it out, no matter how old you are. When we don't have a basis to go off, a very strong foundation, and that in itself, a definition of a strong foundation, is up to many different people on what that is.
That every child needs a healthy family structure to thrive that consists of openness, communication, and nurturance amongst family members, and adequate parental supervision or adult supervision. These are the things that we need that would limit our children's involvement in risky behaviors.
I dealt with rejection at birth. My mom was not ready to raise me, or she didn't know how to be in her first, and I was given to my grandparents. Being raised by them, I was always sheltered, so it was school, home. I never got a chance to interact with other students or do after school activities, anything like that. So I came into a rebellious stage in my life, and I decided that I wanted to meet my mom, and they agreed to let me do that. And once I met her and I had so much freedom, I was able to go where I wanted to go, as long as I came back home by the time the street lights were on. So I'm thinking it was a beautiful life, but it wasn't. Me and her, we never saw eye to eye. Due to a testimony that I found out at 33, that my dad, my real father, was a pimp, and my mother was one of his whores. And I guess because I remind her so much of that time in her life, we just never saw eye to eye.
In terms of being able to establish healthy relationships, even to function adequately, whether it be on a job or in their own daily life. So it definitely has an impact on every aspect of a person's life.
Are saying that the preventative measures are not working, and that may be because young women, young black women, they don't see themselves as victims of sex trafficking. They are just trying to survive. And so when you have a workshop that you're trying to put out for young girls to be educated about sex trafficking, and you're calling it sex trafficking prevention, but they don't classify themselves as being victims of sex trafficking, then what is the prevention methods doing?
I had numerous encounters with people that I want to say God put in my path to let me know that I was better. That I was better than what I was doing. That I didn't have to subject myself to living that kind of life. I felt people didn't understand my struggle and what I was going through. I did it for the money. But then after a while, it was no longer for the money. It was for the attention that I always wanted but never got, due to so much rejection.
When we look at the images that are being portrayed on TV for black women, women of color in general, right, is this glamorized lifestyle, and much of it promotes sex, right? And so we're asking ourselves, why do we see young women going these routes? And it's because the images that they see, they're examples of womanhood, right? Well, first of all, the examples of womanhood in their own community, right, is an example of women continuously being abused emotionally, physically, sexually. The images that are on TV is saying that if you want to live this fabulous life, this is all you have to do. Have sex with all these people to move up in the world. Have sex with all these people to get great things, to get nice clothes, nice jewelry, apartments, go on vacations. It's the problem is that these reality shows, which is a false reality, is becoming true reality for our young girls that we work with every day.
It's so easy to be trapped, and I just want to tell my story to encourage someone that's dealing with it, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You are somebody. You are more than a price tag. You don't have to settle for being used, because it does have a lot of what I want to call side effects, meaning you lose sight of who you are.
So unresolved childhood trauma can have a big impact on our adult life, mainly because there's so many things that we ourselves are unaware of. We are aware of the obvious things, but we're not aware and in tune with some of the emotional things, because a lot of times people try to avoid those things. So if we avoid it, then our reaction could be, I'm going to go into protection mode or survival mode, and then we continue to experience that versus just not being in protection mode all the time.
I have now a big trust issue when it comes to men. I don't feel that I'll ever fully trust a man, being that I've been around so many and a various amount of different people that you encounter, and to know that they turn to this kind of industry to help themselves in any kind of way that they can. It's a lot.
When you go into the schools, the girls don't necessarily want to talk about sex trafficking, because the issues that are leading them to sex trafficking are those issues that we're not talking about. And so when we go into a school and we see many girls that are struggling with self-esteem, self-identity, self-confidence, conflict, period, the inability to form positive relationships, those are the things that they want to talk about, and those are the things that really we should be talking about, so that we can prevent them from running away or being in vulnerable states. The other issue is that even we can talk to girls all day, we can talk to them 24 hours a day, but at the end of the day, when they go home, and that's the key, a home. Are they going home, or are they going to the street? Are they going to a stable home? Are they going to a place where their needs are being met, where their basic needs are being met? If your basic needs are not being met, you have to do what you have to do in order to survive. People have to steal every day. Young women are out here stealing. They're out here having sex to have a place to stay. Some of these young women are out here having sex for the betterment of their family. So it's not always like it's just a girl. I know girls who have told me that they have dated older men because their older men can provide for them, which in turn then they can provide for their family.
I'm now searching my soul, and I see how I allowed it to happen, because I know that I have to take ownership of my part of being in it. So I'm not gonna pretend that I'm this big victim, because I had a huge role to play in this. My pride is what led me into the spiral. My pride of not speaking out, telling people that I feel hurt, asking people for help when I know that I needed it. And now how I deal with it is that because I go to church now, and she has a wonderful series on soul detox, and it's really helping me to search my inner self to overcome what has happened to me and to be a better woman, and again also to encourage other people that you can do it. Just step out. It's scary, I know, because I've been there. It's scary. You don't know who to trust. You don't even know where to go. The reason why I wanted to share my story is that we need more programs out here in Connecticut that will help when there is someone that wants to step out and no longer be in the sex industry, and they want to step out. It's scary because you don't know who to trust, and you don't even know where to go.
We'd like to thank you for joining us on this episode of Honeydew. Please always remember, honey, do love yourself.